Everyone's favorite used car salesman is celebrating his 200th episode, and you know what that means? Everything has to go. Now, it's Lou Diamond Used Cars. Every car, truck, SUV, they all have to go. Why? We have no idea, but I'm talking fast and loud. Happy 200th episode, Lou Diamond. I'm going to give you a prediction about this winter. It's going to be cold, it's going to be dark, and it's going to last you for the rest of your lives. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It is a very mean and nasty place, and it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. They can take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom. Someday, and that day may never come, I will call upon you to do a service for me, because as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. But how do you shoot the devil in the back? What if you miss? Well, you've got to get busy living or get busy dying. That's goddamn right. But aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? You know, we'll always have Paris. But there's no place like home. And don't mind that man behind the curtain. It's just Lou Diamond on the 200th episode of Thrive Loud.
Get ready to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Hey, Thrive Loud fans, this is Lou Diamond, and welcome to a special minisode episode, the 200th episode of Thrive Loud. The team at Thrive Loud has been trying to figure out what to do for these milestone episodes. We've had some great episodes in the past. On our 50th, we brought back some of the original guests. On our 100th, if you go back and listen, we had almost 99 guests call in, and I guess maybe we put 40 on the air to basically give thanks and messages to Thrive Loud for its reaching its 100th episode. So we were trying to figure out what to do for 200. And we decided, if you are a regular listener, you are familiar with the fact that I love ending every show asking the guests what their favorite movie is, or what movie connected the most with them. And I usually word it as, what's your all-time favorite movie? And I've recognized that that is a very difficult question to ask. It's very open-ended, and there's so many different options. Yet, interestingly, when people start to think about it, or they put pen to paper and write down some of their favorite movies, we've had some pretty consistent answers as to the top movies that really connect with our listeners and our audience members as well. So this episode is a chance to summarize the top 10 episode as chosen by the Thrive Loud guests that have been on this program. And we've put it together in a very special montage. So here we go with the countdown. First of all, our top 10 movies as selected by our Thrive Loud guests. Starting with number 10.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
That's right, you guessed it, Casablanca, the 1942 classic, which is actually pretty impressive considering that most of the guests on Thrive Loud weren't born when that movie came out. It obviously has held up in time, and many of our listeners, in fact, over 4 of them, thought that this was their favorite. It's probably important to give a little bit of background here that we've had almost 200 guests on the program, and many people had trouble narrowing it down to just one movie. So when we looked at the total universe, there were over 85 movies that were named. From the ranges were ridiculous, from as amazing as a movie like Casablanca all the way down to something like Pee-wee's Great Adventure. So keep in mind, this is an interesting sample set that we're looking at, yet it's a pretty cool list. So with that, Casablanca comes in at number 10. All right, let's move on to number 9.
Once again, the eyes of the nation have turned here to this tiny village in western Pennsylvania, blah, 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 blah. There is no way that this winter is ever going to end. As long as this groundhog keeps seeing his shadow, I don't see any other way out. He's got to be stopped. And I have to stop him.
The 1993 incredibly fun Bill Murray movie, Groundhog Day. What's really interesting is that on Thrive Loud, we're talking to those that thrive loud each and every day. And what I've always found were those that came back and said Groundhog Day, really, it was a reminder and appreciation of life and all the things and the most that you can get out of even one day. A lot of that feedback came back from why this movie connected with so many listeners and so many guests on the show. So I love that movie. I love that clip. And Groundhog Day was number 9. Let's move on to number 8.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. That's what the FBI could never understand. That what Paulie and the organization does is offer protection for people who can't go to the cops. That's it. That's all it is. They're like the police department for wise guys.
What do you mean I'm funny? It's funny, you know. It's a good story. It's funny. You're a funny guy. What do you mean? You mean the way I talk? What? It's just, you know, you're just funny. It's funny, you know, the way you tell the story and everything. Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it? What? Just, you know, you're funny. You mean, so? Well, let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little fucked up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny? Get the fuck out of here, Tommy. You motherfucker! I almost had him.
Goodfellas comes in at number 8. The Martin Scorsese classic. We had so much fun trying to find clips and quotes, and we apologize for the length of some of them, but they're so good. We just didn't want to stop. So always great to hear these great clips. And if anyone's offended by the language in this, you can always just skip and fast forward. Anyway, it's classic stuff. And Goodfellas came in with a ton of people loved these mobster movies. And Goodfellas, obviously a big one from the 1990s, was 1990 to be exact, was a big hit with many Thrive Loud guests and cracked into the top 10. Okay, let's move on to number 7.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Not nobody, not know-how. I am Oz. The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
Oh, Auntie M, there's no place like home.
Going all the way back to 1939, The Wizard of Oz, a classic that obviously aired on CBS just about every year since like 1972 or something like that. So everyone would get a chance to watch that movie once a year. I personally can tell you that I even had the soundtrack, an old LP that we used to play and listen to that music. And needless to say, the music that's playing underneath me used to scare me to death as a little kid because that witch was really freaky. But The Wizard of Oz was an amazing movie, connected with so many Thrive Loud guests, very popular. I could never tell if it was actually their favorite or was just their immediate go-to or that they've seen it so many times. Whatever it is, the movie is an American classic. We all connect with it in some form or fashion, and it comes in at number 7. Moving on, let's go to number 6.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
I'm smarter than you, and I'm going to find out what I want to know, and I'm going to get it from you whether you like it or not. Who's Kaiser Soze?
I work for Kaiser Soze.
There is no Kaiser Soze.
And like that, he's gone.
From 1995, The Usual Suspects. It is one of the best casts, and so much great dialogue goes on in that movie. And I found that a lot of the guests, when they say this movie, there's something about it. Maybe it's the mystery, the uniqueness, the incredible acting that takes place between Chaz Palminteri and Kevin Spacey. The movie is a classic. People love it. It's great acting, great dialogue, and obviously a very unique ending that captivates you, or makes you think about going back and reviewing the whole movie as you try to remember it. It's one of those movies that when it's on, a lot of the guests that put this as one of their favorite, it just is one that they could just pick it up at any point and want to sit all the way through it. So The Usual Suspects comes in at number 6. And now we have entered the top 5 movies of the Thrive Loud guests. Coming in at number 5.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace. and dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
Who doesn't get chills hearing that each and every time? Coming in at number 5, Braveheart. So many guests love this movie for its inspirational message, its power, its drama, and obviously some pretty badass fighting scenes. Braveheart is a classic. It won Best Picture and all the awards that went along with it, and a lot of people put it as their number 1 favorite movie, and it cracked our top 5 in the Thrive Loud guest list. So kudos to Mel Gibson, kudos to Braveheart, and now we're moving on to number 4.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Han Solo. I'm captain of the Millennium Falcon.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
We're doomed.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
Can anyone tell that we had a lot of fun producing this Thrive Loud minisode? Star Wars comes in at number 4. The 1977 classic. Many of the Thrive Loud guests selected Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, but Star Wars was always mentioned, so we just kind of rolled it up into Star Wars, which comes in at number 4. And I've always wanted to produce an episode with the Cantina music from Star Wars playing in the background. So thank you for listening, and thank you, production team, for putting that together. Moving on, we are now entering the top 3 favorite movies of the Thrive Loud guests. And with number 3, we didn't really need to play any quotes from the movie. All we really needed to do was play this. Rocky, the 1976 Best Picture and classic movie, comes in strong at number 3 on the Thrive Loud countdown. We were glad to say that many guests selected numerous Rocky movies. Special shout out to Craig Schlanger, who actually listed all 7 Rocky movies in the order that he liked them. But Rocky, an inspirational movie, truly about thriving loud, the underdog. Many guests love this movie. It connects with them in that spirit of never giving up and always moving forward. Makes Rocky a truly Thrive Loud favorite of not only the guests, the fans, and oh yeah, this particular host. So way to go, Sylvester Stallone and Rocky Balboa, cracking the top 3 of the Thrive Loud guest countdown. And now it's time to get to number 2 of the Thrive Loud guests' top 10 movie countdown. This movie, every time a guest would say that this was their favorite, I was always so surprised at the range of people, not only just people who grew up in American culture, but people all around the world who've been guests on this show that love this movie and its message of inspiring hope.
In 1966, Andy Dufresne escaped from Shawshank Prison. All they found of him was a muddy set of prison clothes, a bar of soap, and an old rock hammer, damn near worn down to the nub. I remember thinking it would take a man 600 years to tunnel through the wall with it. Old Andy did it in less than 20. Get busy living or get busy dying. That's goddamn right.
Coming in at number 2 on the Thrive Loud movie countdown, The Shawshank Redemption. We don't know if so many listeners loved it because it was always on TNT or TBS and you could pretty much watch it at any time, that it had an incredible cast with Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. We don't know if it was because of Morgan Freeman's silky, smooth voice as he narrates throughout the picture, if those are the reasons why people picked it. However, the one common theme on why this movie connects with so many people is what the movie is all about, the message of hope. And people love it. In fact, we thought when we were doing this countdown that this might have been the number 1 movie in the movie list. It is such a great one. If you have not seen The Shawshank Redemption, under the movies that I always recommend, they said you need to see this movie. And for those who thrive loud each and every day, I think that underbelly of keeping hope alive and moving to that is really inspiring. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. And many people have, and obviously it was our number 2 in our Thrive Loud guest countdown. And that brings us to the number 1 movie on the Thrive Loud movie countdown.
Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me. But until that day, accept this justice as a gift on my daughter's wedding day.
What the hell is this?
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes. Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
Fredo, you're my older brother, and I love you. But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again. Ever.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
The Godfather. The 1972 and 1974 classic, because The Godfather Part 2 got many votes as well. From Francis Ford Coppola, The Godfather is the number 1 favorite movie across the majority of the Thrive Loud guests that came on the program when they were asked what is their all-time favorite movie, or what was the movie that connected most with them. Many people have taken this movie as a means of how it relates to them. It teaches them about leadership, about family, and a lot of great lessons that you can learn in business came from this movie. A lot of that concept of say less, do more actually came out from some of the reasons why this movie connected with so many great, thriving guests that have been on this program. And this is not surprising because The Godfather is the number 1 listed movie on many movie rankings and lists. So unsurprisingly, here it is as the number 1 with Thrive Loud guests. We had so much fun putting this episode together. Special thanks to the entire Thrive Loud production team. Shout out to Steve O'Brien for that very fun opening. Go back and re-listen and try and figure out if you can match each one of his quotes to the movies that were listed in this countdown. Strickland Bonner for his direction and coming up with some of the content that Steve O'Brien put together. The entire Thrive Loud intern team from Sophia, Caroline, and Angeli, and everyone else that has contributed, all the great guests that have been on this program. Also wanted to thank my good friend Scott Spielberger, who I speak movies with all the time and can't get through a conversation without some reference to a movie quote. And Adam Gruthius, who is continually reminding me that Frank Drebin of the Naked Gun movies is the only character that actually ever existed on the silver screen. 200 episodes. Holy cow. Still rocking and rolling. We just wanted to take a moment out to celebrate the milestone, and that's what this was. And a lot of people wanted to make it a little bit fun, and so did the team. So we made it all about the movies. So thank you for listening. Let's keep on rocking. We'll be back very shortly with an episode just around the corner tomorrow as the interviews of the amazing, thriving individuals in this world and on this planet continue to grace us on the show. So personally, from me, Lou Diamond, thank you, listeners, for listening to this great program. Hopefully you had some fun. Hopefully you kind of guessed where you thought these movies would come out. And if your movie was not listed, if you were a guest on the show or you have another favorite movie, hey, we could do this down the road again. See if the tally changes. Again, remember to keep thriving onward and upward And be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.